December 1996. AOL promises unlimited internet access for $19.95 a month, and across the country, households dialing in hear nothing but busy signals. More than 8 million paying subscribers, one flat price, and nowhere near enough modem ports to handle them all at once. Overnight, the meter was gone. People logged on earlier, stayed longer, and stopped treating online time as scarce. The behavior changed instantly. The network didn't. What followed, the complaints, the state attorneys general, and the $350 million emergency build-out, all trace back to one question the price had never answered. In this channel, we break down the dot-com era, uncovering the decisions and consequences behind the companies that shaped our lives. For more stories like this, subscribe and hit like. On December 1st, 1996, the flat-rate pricing plan became the automatic reality for the vast majority of America Online subscribers. Across the country, households sitting before beige desktop monitors clicked Sign On and waited for the familiar sequence of static, squeals, and dial tones. Instead of the digital handshake of a successful connection, however, thousands of users were met with the rapid, repetitive beep of a local busy signal. This was not a total system blackout. The central servers in Virginia were fully operational, and millions of successful connections were being made every day. But for a rapidly growing member base that would surpass 8 million paying subscribers by January 1997, getting online became an exercise in persistence. The widely heard complaint that nobody could log in was shorthand for a massive volume of failed connection attempts rather than a universal network outage. At its core, the flat monthly bill did not alter the physical realities of the telephone network. Every active session still required a dedicated copper path, a local home telephone line, a physical regional trunk line, and an available modem port at the local access point. When the metered billing stopped running, the natural economic incentive to log off and free up the line vanished. Users stayed logged in for hours at a time, monopolizing the incoming capacity. For those trying to dial in, the redial button became the primary interface of the dial-up experience. This initial strain exposed a fundamental truth. A company could change its pricing overnight, but expanding the physical infrastructure of telephone trunks and modem banks would require months of hardware acquisition and engineering. In the immediate term, millions of customers who had eagerly anticipated unlimited exploration were left listening to the rhythmic, mechanical pulse of a blocked telephone network, realizing that a flat rate did not guarantee an open door. Before December 1996, the clock was the silent dictator of the American online experience. Under AOL's standard pricing, a subscription typically cost $9.95 a month, which secured just 5 hours of access. Every hour beyond that limit tacked on an extra charge of $2.95. On a paper bill at the end of the month, those extra hours could easily stack up into an eye-watering surprise. This ticking meter created a very specific set of household habits. Users did not browse aimlessly, instead they adapted to the scarcity of connection. Families composed emails offline in a basic word processor, then connected to the network just long enough to send the messages and download incoming mail before logging off. The modem speaker would screech, the data would transfer, and the connection would quickly close. This fast-paced routine saved money and kept the single household phone line clear for regular voice calls. By the middle of 1996, keeping this hourly discipline alive was becoming an uphill battle for AOL. The wider internet was evolving, and so was the competition. Microsoft's MSN and AT&T WorldNet began offering flat-rate plans of $19.95 for unlimited hours. For a consumer, the math was simple. Why watch the clock on AOL when a competitor allowed you to explore without limits? Although AOL's iconic floppy disks and CD-ROM mailers had successfully driven massive subscriber growth for years, those new members were starting to look toward rivals who promised absolute freedom from the meter. The pressure on the company's business model was mounting, forcing leadership to reconsider the very nature of how they charged for time. On July 1st, 1996, America Online adjusted its billing options, offering a basic tier of $9.95 per month for 5 hours of access, with additional hours billed at $2.95 each. This move attempted to manage subscriber retention under intense market pressure, but a far larger structural shift was underway behind the scenes. Rivals were already proving that users preferred a flat fee, and matching them was the only way to prevent mass subscriber defections. On October 29, 1996, the company announced a massive balance sheet restructuring, taking a one-time, pre-tax charge of $385 million. This charge represented a complete write-off of what the company called deferred membership acquisition costs. For years, the cash spent on manufacturing and mailing millions of free trial floppy disks and CD-ROMs had not been counted as immediate expenses. Instead, the company capitalized these marketing costs, treating them as an asset to be amortized over the estimated lifespan of a subscriber. This accounting practice had allowed the firm to report profits on paper while spending heavily on aggressive marketing campaigns. Writing off this $385 million asset was an explicit acknowledgement that the old growth model had reached its limit. This accounting change did not cause the physical network congestion that followed. It served as the financial preparation for a new pricing strategy. By clearing these deferred costs from the books, the business prepared to transition from a marketing-driven acquisition machine to a service that relied on long-term subscription revenue. The board wagered that a predictable monthly bill would stabilize the member base. In doing so, they willingly traded their usage-based revenue safety net for an untested model of unlimited access, altering the economic incentives of online behavior before a single new modem was plugged in. To understand why the system buckled, follow a single connection attempt from a household computer. When a user clicked Sign On, their machine sent an analog command to the internal modem, which dialed a local 7-digit access number. This call traveled over household copper wire to the local telephone company's central office, which routed it through regional telephone trunks. These trunks terminated at a physical modem bank housed either in AOL's local facilities or rented from third-party network providers. These racks of hardware contained a fixed number of physical ports, each designed to handle exactly one subscriber at a time. If all ports were occupied, the call could go no further. Once a port was successfully secured, leased network capacity carried the digital traffic over high-speed lines to the central internet backbone. A busy signal occurred at the entrance of this system. It meant every single modem port in that local bank was already occupied by another user, causing the telephone network to return a rapid mechanical tone. It was a complete failure to gain entry, distinct from a slow session or a dropped connection, which occurred only after a user successfully secured a port but experienced poor data transfer or line noise. When the flat rate of $19.95 removed the hourly meter, subscriber behavior shifted instantly. Without a ticking clock, users no longer had a reason to compose emails offline or disconnect once they finished reading a web page. It became highly rational to log on earlier in the day, keep the connection active through dinner, and stay online during the peak evening hours when family members returned home. The Los Angeles Times reported that this pricing change doubled the average daily usage per member. By late December, this behavioral shift triggered a wave of desperate customer workarounds. Knowing how hard it was to get back online, many users simply left their modems connected all day, even when they walked away from their desks. Those locked out resorted to brute force persistence. They hit the redial button repeatedly, programmed their software to cycle through alternative local numbers, and flooded customer service hotlines, which quickly jammed as well. This gridlock created immediate, measurable consequences. In Olympia, Washington, Attorney General Christine Gregoire's office began receiving a steady stream of written complaints from citizens who paid their monthly fees but encountered only busy signals. These letters detailed hours of fruitless dialing and household disruption. The complaints initiated a legal challenge that would soon force America Online to account for the gap between what they billed and what they could actually deliver. By late January 1997, the thousands of letters and phone calls piling up in state regulatory offices transformed a customer service nightmare into a major consumer protection dispute. Washington State Attorney General Christine Gregoire took the lead, organizing a coalition of state prosecutors to address the flood of complaints. On January 29, 1997, Gregoire announced a voluntary agreement with America Online, joined by 35 other state attorneys general. The deal established a nationwide refund program for subscribers who had paid for December 1996 and January 1997, but spent more time listening to busy signals than exploring the web. These refunds were structured in precise, graduated bands based on actual online hours recorded on AOL's servers. Customers who used less than 2 hours during a problematic billing cycle were eligible for a full refund of their $19.95 fee. Those who logged between 2 and 8 hours of access could claim a 50% refund, while users with 8 to 15 hours received a 25% refund. For those who preferred to stay on the service, AOL offered 1 month of free access instead of cash. The agreement also forced AOL to simplify its notoriously difficult account cancellation process, making it easier for frustrated users to walk away. In the text of the settlement, AOL explicitly denied any wrongdoing or legal violations, framing the program as a voluntary gesture to restore customer goodwill. Yet the public statements from investigators left little room for corporate spin. Gregoire summarized the mismatch between AOL's ambitions and its physical network directly, stating that AOL's marketing clearly got out ahead of its technological capacity. Internally, the crisis forced a dramatic shift in how the company managed its day-to-day operations. Chief Executive Officer Steve Case made a series of public appearances, pleading with subscribers to moderate their usage during peak evening hours, asking them to treat the service like a shared telephone line rather than an open-ended utility. By February 1997, the pressure forced AOL to suspend all of its aggressive national television and print advertising campaigns. When promotion eventually resumed, it came with a new catch. Every new advertisement featured prominent disclaimers warning prospective members that network capacity was limited and that access could not be guaranteed in high-traffic areas. This multi-state agreement stood apart from the private class action lawsuits that would follow years later. It was a direct regulatory intervention designed to provide immediate financial relief and alter customer rights. But while these legal remedies redefined the relationship between AOL and its members, they did not install a single physical telephone wire or mount a single new rack of hardware. The refunds and advertisement pauses adjusted the financial obligations, but the physical bottlenecks on the telephone lines remained, leaving the company with no choice but to engineer a massive, physical expansion of its network. On September 9, 1997, America Online announced a $350 million network upgrade to systematically break the busy signal bottleneck. This physical expansion program promised to add 150,000 new physical modem ports at local access points, construct an entirely new central data center, and hire 600 additional customer support staff to handle the continuing backlog of complaints. In the mechanics of dial-up engineering, these physical modem ports represent capacity at the edge of the network. They determine the absolute limit of how many individual computer modems can successfully dial a local number and establish a handshake at the exact same second. But getting connected was only the first hurdle. Once a user occupied a port, their data had to travel across high-speed transit lines. To secure this backbone capacity, AOL contracted with WorldCom's UUNet to provide backbone routing capacity described in contemporaneous reports as equivalent to approximately 100,000 modems. This operational arrangement quickly integrated into a larger corporate swap. On September 29, 1997, WorldCom announced a transaction to buy CompuServe. In the resulting three-way asset reshuffle, WorldCom transferred CompuServe's enterprise network division, ANS Communications, directly to AOL, along with $175 million in cash. AOL took immediate control of these high-speed ANS assets to bolster its internal transmission speeds. Yet, for a frustrated subscriber staring at a redial screen, a corporate merger did not instantly clear a busy signal. There was a vast difference between capacity that was announced, promised, or contracted, and hardware that was actually deployed. While high-capacity backbones could carry traffic after a connection was made, they did not add the physical local copper trunks needed to dial in. Resolving the gridlock still required technicians to physically unbox, mount, and wire thousands of individual edge modems in regional telephone centers nationwide. By the middle of 1997, the frantic pace of hardware installation slowly began to clear the lines. Industry reports documented a steady decline in busy signal complaints, and by November 1997, America Online reached a milestone of 10 million subscribers worldwide. This rapid expansion occurred despite the lingering frustration of the previous winter. Customers remained on the service because the convenience of flat-rate access outweighed the memory of the busy signals. This massive subscriber base transformed the business, turning AOL toward a scale and advertising economy sustained by predictable, recurring monthly subscription fees. While contemporaneous reports presented the improved dial in success rates as progress. The network was still far from universally reliable. The final numbers validated the growth logic of the flat-rate gamble, but this scale did not excuse the severe access failures. The episode exposed a fundamental friction of the digital age. A single business decision can change the behavior of millions of people overnight, but the physical world moves much slower. Modifying human habits took a simple price change, but expanding the capacity to support those habits required physical copper trunks, corporate negotiations, revised accounting policies, and real-world construction. For those who lived through it, the era is forever defined by the rhythmic clicking of a redial button. Did you spend the winter of 1996 listening to busy signals, or did you keep your line tied up all day to avoid being locked out? If you enjoyed this look back at early internet history, please like this video and subscribe for more. Today, seamless bandwidth makes digital scarcity feel like ancient history, yet the core friction of 1996 remains. Every time a modern platform crashes under sudden demand, we are reminded of the same physical truth. Virtual promises are always bound by physical limits. The great dial-up gridlock wasn't just a temporary glitch, it was our first lesson that code can never outrun the copper.